Jamar Perkins. It's crunch time. It's crunch time here live at the studios of Austin Peay. Zach Pugh joined with Reese Britt and no Jamar Perkins today as we have Kristian Hunt in. Kristian, welcome to the show, buddy. Jamar is currently going to, I should know this because I wrote it down on where they're going. They're going to Stetson. So Jamar's on the road with the women's basketball team. He calls for the women's basketball team. We've told everybody that a few times already on the show, but just want to reiterate that. But Kristian, I'm glad you're here, buddy. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm going to try not to screw it up first episode. We'll see how it goes.
We all say that when we start, so it's totally fun.
It's going to happen.
It's tough to screw up what we do here, I promise.
We're
just three guys talking sports.
It is a little harder to mess up. I will be saying that. With that said, though, we start the show each week talking about just how the week's been and how everything's going. So I'm going to start with actually, Kristian, we'll start with you since you're new inside here. How's your week been, bud? You had a good weekend? Had a good week so far? It was Wednesday.
Had a great weekend. Had a good start. Got some schoolwork done. Obviously, I had the Super Bowl this weekend, so it's good to watch a football game with the family, and great game. Obviously, had a tough ending, with the call, but it was still a great game to watch. Great game to watch.
Mm-hmm. You're one of few that I've heard that it's a great game to watch. I will say that.
Absolutely.
A lot of people were disappointed, unfortunately. But Reese, how about yourself? How's your weekend going?
I will agree with you. I thought it was a great game to watch. Yep. Offensively, defensively, both teams struggled, but that has more to do than just the game itself.
Right.
But I had a great weekend. Obviously, watched the Super Bowl on Sunday. We've had a good week of practice. We're actually heading on Friday to go down to Orlando, Florida. We're playing our first tournament down there in Bellarmine. So we're excited about it. We're all playing really good golf, so we should have a good finish to that one. So we're excited.
I mean, that's an ASUN conference opponent, so we hope that you get that win. To be honest, with that said, I'll go ahead and caveat mine. My week's been great so far. Obviously, teaching and stuff throughout the week is kind of fun for me, and being a graduate teaching stuff, that's always fun for me to do. So I enjoy that. And other than that, I got a chance to see the games. And Valentine's Day was yesterday, and had a date for the first time in 4 years. So I'll say that. Right, let's go. Let's go.
Hey,
I don't know why I'm mentioning that, but we'll still we'll talk about it, right? But hey, let's talk about APSU men's basketball. As the men's team has now hit a losing streak of 10 games this season as they lose to Central Arkansas on the road this past weekend, 76-69. They hope to turn things around this Thursday at home in the Dunn against Jacksonville. That is tomorrow. Jacksonville's not a bad team for the men's team. They're doing really good this season. I have no issues right now with that team. But the issue that I do have with, and I want to talk to you guys about this, men's team's on a 10-game losing streak.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Well, it's interesting. Central Arkansas team that they just lost to, they beat earlier in the season.
Yeah,
so you can look at it two ways. Are we getting better or are we getting worse? 10-game losing streak, that is not what you want to see coming down the stretch.
No.
And, last year we saw, they got off to a rough start, but you could see progression throughout the year. They were getting better.
Right.
They were, filling in those empty holes that they had throughout the offense and defensive side of the court, but this year, it's almost looked like, I don't want to say the team's quit, but it's almost looked like they've lost interest. They've lost interest in what they set out to do at the beginning of the season.
I don't think a player will ever admit that they've quit on their team, but I will say that there's a complete obvious sign when watching them play. Mm-hmm. They're not playing like they should.
This is something I wrote down in my notes personally. Out of the 10 straight, 8 of them have been by double digits. So you may not personally get to say, "Hey, we quit," but the stats don't lie. Yeah. I mean, if you're losing by double digits, granted, sometimes
and they're in the second half too. It's not even like that second half 20-something points or double-digit points kill out is going towards a game portion where at some points they were leading that game.
Yeah.
Like they've blown 3 games where they've had leads. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just sad. But let's talk about good basketball. Let's talk about good basketball and what's happening for the APSU women's basketball team. They lost Saturday, unfortunately, against Jacksonville, 55-52, ending a 4-game win streak. I was at that game. It was a very disappointing loss. You could see it on not just the players, not on the players' faces, but also on coach's face. And Jamar Perkins said something really good, and I'll quote him here. There's teams that you're supposed to beat, and there's teams you're supposed to lose to. That was a team they were supposed to beat, but they lost to. And that game there should be a pace setter for them now for the rest of the season. I agree with that as well. And now they did knock them out of a 3-way tie in second place, but they now hold sole possession of a 3rd seed so far right now. They've clinched a spot in the ASUN Conference Tournament, and they look to get back in their winning ways this Thursday on the road against Stetson. Coach Brittany Young has a great history with Stetson, and Coach Young is 5 wins away. 5 of them. Now, actually, I think 4 of them now. 4 wins away from being the most winningest head coach in Austin Peay history, for quickest to 40 wins, really, is what it is. Which is crazy.
2 years. Less than 2 years.
And she's got 20. Yeah, 2 years. And she's got 20 games to do it in. 20 games. It's counting this game right now. She has 20 games to get 4 or 5 more wins to be the quickest to 40 wins. That's amazing.
Even the Jacksonville game, I mean, that's what you would call a just defensive grind out.
Oh, yeah.
Jacksonville had 5 players score points, but 4 of them unfortunately scored double digits. So it's just one of those just grind matches where it's like
the team played well, the shots just didn't go for the Governors.
It's like you just struggle with those type of games because, yes, should they have won? Absolutely. But, again, it's one of those where they played their hearts out, and it's just, hey, at the end of the day, it just didn't come out on the right end.
And it pulled the heartstrings because, like, you get the opportunity to interview coach every game, right? Mm-hmm. Every game. So at least for me, every home game I get a chance to talk to her. Away games I don't get a chance to talk to her because I'm not there, obviously, right? Jamar's there. But I told Jamar this. We get a different person, and not in a bad way. It happens with any form of sport. Any form of sport, the coach always changes after losing a game compared to winning a game. You expect that, right? Mm-hmm. But this one hurt. Like you could see this one hurt. And I felt bad for the team probably going into this week because I bet they've ran constantly. I bet they haven't stopped running. I bet they're still running. They're probably running to Stetson right now is probably what they're doing. She's probably having them run there.
You know what's interesting is I think that the Lady Govs are going to be better from this.
Oh, I do too.
And you can tell, on Coach Jackson, or was it Coach Young? Right? Coach Young's face, she was heartbroken after that loss. And so you can tell that she's going to – there's going to be some changes, but there's going to be good changes. And I think coming down the stretch, everybody, any home game that they have, get out and support these girls because they deserve it. They're playing way too good a basketball right now for people not to show up to their games.
If you're in the Clarksville area, there are 3 home games left in the season. Three of them left in the season. All 3 are conference games. You can find them on Let's Go Peay, I believe, website. I believe is where you can find them at. You can also find at WBB basketball, I believe, or at WWBB Govs, I think is what it is, on Twitter. Also gives you live updates as well. Speaking of Twitter and Instagram, you can find us at APSU CrunchTime on Twitter and Instagram. Join us as we do live setups, live streams going through during our setups. Ask us some questions or answer the questions we ask you throughout the week. We do stuff every single day. Our friend Reese Britt is the one that helps us run that page, and we try to do everything we can to keep everybody updated. Feel free to follow us on there and ask us questions at any time. And that makes me transition to college basketball's top 10 AP poll. I've got a graphic popping up right now for college basketball. I'm going to read these, and then we're going to talk about it. Alabama at number 1, Houston at number 2, Purdue at number 3, UCLA at number 4, Kansas at 5, Texas at 6, Virginia at 7, Arizona at 8, and Baylor at 9th, and then Tennessee Vols rounding out the top 10. How do I start this?
Yeah, where do we start?
I got it. First off, you had something that you wanted to congratulate somebody on, and I'm going to agree with you because I'd like to do that too.
Well, Zach, you and I both are Vanderbilt Commodore fans.
We are.
And we hit a buzzer beater against a certain in-state rival. Oh, wait, it's Tennessee.
Yeah,
that's who it was,
that was
right?
Last week, right?
And not only did Tennessee get 1 buzzer beater in 1 week, they got 2 of them.
They did.
They've had a rough week. It's been a rough week to be a Rocky Top Volunteer.
I will add, it is a rough week to be.
It's interesting because at the game tonight against Alabama, 1 versus 10. I don't see any. Usually
we were 6 last week.
Well, that's one. Well, usually Tennessee's ranked, but Vanderbilt's not. So that's interesting.
That's true. I mean,
in recent history,
that's beside the point.
Hasn't been the case all the time, but in recent history, you were right. We were unranked the last few years.
That's beside the point. You guys played a heck of a ball game.
I will admit, we've beaten ranked Arkansas.
Yeah.
We've beaten ranked Tennessee.
Yep.
I think there's another team that we almost come close to beating that was ranked. I can't remember who it was.
So last night you put 1 on South Carolina.
We are currently on a 4-game SEC win streak, which is the first time in like 7 or 8 years. So
we didn't do that last season.
Stackhouse,
for
potentially turning it around.
I don't know. I've been calling for his job, so I'm happy.
I said potentially.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
But no, I mean I do want to say Tennessee Alabama tonight. That's 6 p.m.
It's a great game
at Tennessee. Top 10 matchup. Tennessee's got to get back on the winning ways. They've dropped 2 straight. Vanderbilt and then Missouri during the weekend. So both on buzzer beaters. Great games. Both of the teams played really well. Vanderbilt played well and Missouri played well. They shot the ball. Both teams shot the ball really solid from the field. But this one's going to be a grinded out. Best offense in the SEC versus the best defense in the SEC. Pretty much even in the country.
Anybody else shocked that Alabama has a basketball team?
I am.
I am personally.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure.
And they're good.
Thank you, Steve, for that.
It's not that they physically have one. It's that they're actually very, very good at it.
That's the other thing. The only other team I will shout out, and I got a friend of mine that listens to our show. I'll shout out the Texas Longhorns at 6. That's a great big step up for them, despite the controversies and stuff going around that.
Yep.
I feel like this is a great transition. Unless you guys have anything else on college basketball, I feel like it's a great transition into college or into college baseball. APSU baseball, the Govs baseball team will open the season with a 3-game series starting this Friday, 2/17/23. Against Illinois State. This will be a home game with the opening pitch starting at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Clarksville, Tennessee. It's a 3-game series here in Clarksville. I love it for the men's baseball team because last year when they were in the OVC, they were ranked really well. They looked like they were going to be doing really good.
Preseason ranked 1, actually, in the OVC.
And now this year, they look good.
They do.
I don't remember who's starting off pitching for that first game. They have announced the starting pitcher, though, so that's good as well. They do have an opening day pitcher. I don't know who it is off the top of my head.
There's a reason. I mean, all of them have basically transferred in from either Oklahoma State. I think
we only have one here that's currently stayed for that rotation.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I feel like that gives a good transition into college baseball, which I'm gonna read it. We got a graphic coming up right here, but I'm gonna read this little list real quick. This is obviously before the season starts because the season starts this weekend. LSU is number 1, Tennessee at number 2, shocker. Stanford number 3, 4 is Ole Miss, 5 is Texas A&M, which I'm not shocked about. 6 is Wake Forest, not shocked there either. Florida at 7, okay. Arkansas at 8, I think Arkansas should be higher. Oklahoma State at 9, and then Vanderbilt at top 10. Vandy's top 10 rank, it's a little low for Vandy this year, I think. But I'm gonna hand this off to you. I know, Reese, you got a lot of stuff to cover, so I'm gonna let you. I'll let you go.
I was about to say, hold that thought because I do want to come back to that because I even think it's criminally low for Vanderbilt and what they've done.
3 years ago, we were there. We were there in 2018. We were there in 2019. We weren't there in 2020.
3 years is a long time.
It's what have you done for me lately, especially in college baseball. But I'll take you guys through 5 things. I'm going to go best rotation, best offensive team, sleeper team, overrated team, and my pick to win the College World Series.
I think we know that one.
Let's start with best. I'll go ahead and say Tennessee Volunteers. They're going to win it all this year. They should have won it last year. They had the best team in the country last year.
Who won it last year?
They fell short. Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. And they're not. No, they are. They're fourth.
What's interesting is that Tennessee swept them at Ole Miss last year. So interesting caveat there. But I'll go best pitching rotation. That's got to be the Volunteers as well. They've got Chase Burns, SEC Freshman of the Year, SEC Freshman Pitcher of the Year. Saturday starter is going to be Chase Dolander. He was the National Pitcher of the Year and SEC Pitcher of the Year. And then the Sunday starter is Drew Beam, local kid actually from Blackman High School. So.
Yeah, Blackman in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Murfreesboro,
that's
Tennessee.
not from where I'm from. Actually,
that's right there. That's right there. So that's going to round out, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for them. Best offensive team, in my opinion, is LSU. There's a reason they're preseason ranked 1. They can really score some runs. They can hit. They can score runs. There are 3 guys. Dylan Cruz, SEC Player of the Year last year. They got a transfer from NC State. Tommy Tanks is what they call him. Tommy White. 27 home runs on the year last year at NC State. Bats .362. Anybody that bats over 300 is a very can hit at the plate. And then Trey Morgan, the first baseman, he's going to come back for his 3rd year. He bats .341 at the plate for the Tigers. So they're going to be really tough to beat there. Sleeper teams, Wake Forest. They have one of the best offenses in the country. I'm not either. They're returning a bunch of guys.
They played so well last year at the end of the season. It makes complete sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Florida is going to be my overrated team, not because I hate the Gators, but they do this every year. They're preseason ranked top 10, and they just cannot win.
They usually
series.
finish 15, 18, something like that. They end up losing most of their SEC games. It's just
they just can't win the series. They'll win the start. They'll win the Friday game. And then they've got a chance to clinch a series on Saturday. Can't get it done Sunday. It's a toss-up at that point. They can't get it done either there.
I got a question, and this is for all of us, right? So it's not just for you, but I want to have you start it. Top 3 teams. Looking at this top 10 right now, who are the 3 teams you believe will make it to the top 3 at the end of the year before the playoffs? Who will end the regular season, with 3 teams with the top 3?
I think, obviously, I'll throw Tennessee in there.
Yeah, Tennessee. So I figured Tennessee to be there.
Yeah, because that's who I picked to win. I do think Vanderbilt. The way Vanderbilt played last year was not up to their standards. I think they're going to be back. They're going to be back
they had
for
some injuries.
Yeah. When was the last time Tennessee has swept a Vanderbilt series in a while?
I think it was a minute.
No, they didn't do it last year, did they? I thought they had done it last year.
No, they did last year, but I'm saying before last year.
It had been a minute. It would have been a minute, yeah.
So I think Vanderbilt's coming back for vengeance this year, and then 3, Wake Forest. I really do think. I love Wake Forest.
Their offense looks good. I'm gonna hit it. I'm gonna hand it to you first, but see what you think. What are your top 3 real quick?
As much as it pains me to say, I think you got to throw Tennessee in there.
Oh yeah.
Just the way they finished the year last year. I mean, they're just like, if there's a team outside of Ole Miss that's on a hot streak coming from last year, it's Tennessee. Yeah. And then I got to throw Ole Miss in there because, dude, they won the championship.
They did.
Yeah. They won the whole stinking thing. So I think you at least have to respect. And they got a lot of guys coming back. They got some young talent coming in.
Who's your third?
as much as I want to say Vanderbilt, I am going to say
no
Wake Forest.
Vandy.
You're going to Wake Forest?
Because here's the
Wake
thing.
Forest is good, man.
I do think Vanderbilt's going to be better than they were last year.
Vandy's batting, I think, is a question mark.
Exactly, because their pitching has always been stellar. The problem is you have to score runs to win the game, and the problem is they could not score runs. Now, could that change this year? Yes.
They're playing Major League style baseball, or trying to play that effect with having good pitching and not really great hitting. And they're trying to make it work in college. It's not how college works.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
I
not.
hate to say that. Pitching is important, and pitching is great important, but you have to have hitters. And right now, I don't know a hitter that I'm really worried about when I look at Vandy's roster.
Yeah. I will say, I
still give them top three.
Yeah. Ole Miss.
I don't give them
last year they didn't really look that good throughout the season. They were in the middle of the pack of the SEC throughout, and then they just hit a huge. They opened the gates really and just started.
You mentioned that Ole Miss's hitting at the start of the season reminds me of how Vandy's coming in this season. Not really ranked that high, not really looking like it's going to be bad, but it may be good. So maybe they'll catch a hot streak. My top three, and then we got to move on. I think it's going to be Tennessee, obviously, because I think Tennessee's just a really good team, and it's hard to beat them in baseball this season. Ole Miss, yes, did win the whole thing and the whole kit and caboodle, but I just don't think that their offense is going to run. I think Wake Forest is going to sneak up in there, but I'm going to leave them out. I think it's Tennessee, LSU, and Vanderbilt, with Arkansas at 4.
Yeah.
And Wake Forest at 5.
7 out of 10 teams are SEC, baby. It just means more.
Because I think Arkansas is although they are ranked at 8th, I think they're a little underrated because they have really good pitching and they've got really good offense and they can get running. They can get running. And the Razorbacks are always, just like Vanderbilt, it's always one of those teams that you kind of forget have a good baseball team.
Yeah.
I mean, other than lately we remember Vanderbilt has a baseball team, but that's because Vandy won stuff. But the Razorbacks are always competitive and always there. That moves us into NBA, guys. We got a lot of stuff to talk about with the NBA. A wild trade deadline happened last week with a common theme of 5 to 4 picks being used with almost every other player. It was a really fun thing. Oh, you said 4 seconds? It's 4 seconds? All right, here's 4 seconds in the player. All right, give me that other guy. Great, awesome. A lot of players win, and I got a lot of these. There's a graphic that's being put on for you guys as well right now to see, but give me a second to get my list out because I have a few. KD went to the Suns, which is the dumbest trade Brooklyn's ever made in their life. Kyrie went to the Mavs. Russ went to the Jazz, which I think is a great thing for the Lakers. D'Lo to the Lakers. Pat Bev to the Magic. Mike Conley to the Timberwolves. And John Wall to the Rockets, just to name a few. I will mention that Josh Hart went to the Knicks. That's a pretty good pickup as well. Eric Gordon went to the Clippers. The Grizzlies got Denard, if I remember correctly, as well from a trade. Yep. A lot of things happened. This is probably one of the biggest trade deadline things that happened. And I know that next week when Jamar's back, we'll talk about more of this. But I want to talk with you guys. Besides Brooklyn just being stupid, because I'll admit that is a thing that we can say. That was dumb for them to trade off Kyrie and KD. Yep. Now you only have Ben. I don't think you're making the playoffs. What teams lost the trade deadline? I'll ask who won afterwards, but who lost the trade deadline?
I mean, Reese, I don't know about you, but I mean, obviously the Nets are the obvious choice, but personally, I look at the Lakers.
Especially
got
after Pat
shooting.
Bev.
They got shooting. There's no argument there. They do need shooting, but man, I mean, it's the debate: is it the Nets or the Lakers the most disappointing trio? And Russ was part of that trio. Yeah. They're 6 games below 500, and yes, they got
32 in the season.
They got a couple of decent shooters, but are they really going to make a difference to get you over the hump to get you to potentially play another playoff? I personally don't think so. So yes, great. LeBron passed Kareem. Shout out to him. Great job. Yeah. But at the end of the day, they're not going to make the playoffs, and it's another wash season by the Lakers, in my opinion. So that it may be a hot topic, but I say the Lakers. Personally.
I feel like that. I feel like we have this conversation about the Lakers every single year. I vaguely remember us doing this exact same thing at the trade deadline last year. Yeah. It's a revolving door when it comes to the Lakers, and I think LeBron James is at the center of that. I'll be the first one to say it. I think LeBron James it was a mistake for
being a trailblazer today, aren't you?
I will. I'll
just
say
blazing
it.
them trails.
I'll say it because I'm not. Kristian said it perfectly. He's not a LeBron James hater. He's a LeBron James critic, and I'm the same thing.
I'll admit it. I'm a hater, but I'm a hater for a reason. But you guys know it. Nobody needs to know that.
Speaking of Trailblazers,
I mean skeptic. That's what it was.
Skeptic. You did say skeptic.
Yeah.
Speaking of Trailblazers, it's like, man, what a mistake by not getting Damian Lillard over Russell Westbrook. I mean,
early on, right.
Hindsight's 2020. But God,
how many points did he have against them this recent game?
Like he torched them. And I will say this. To me, I think the Lakers are one of the ones that we mentioned losing, but you can't caveat the fact that literally Brooklyn traded themselves out of the playoffs.
That's the obvious one, yes.
And so for me, that's the obvious pick. The only other team that I mean, like I said, Lakers. They're the 26 and 32, and you traded Pat Bev away and Russ away Why? Well, I mean, I get both of them weren't doing great for you, but they were at least helping you a little bit. They weren't killing you. So
Russ was actually helping, to tell you the honest truth, towards the back end.
I love the Pat Bev thing that Bleacher Report released. And if you want to go look at it, go look at Bleacher Report. You can go see it yourself. But Pat Bev pretty much point blank said it wasn't the team, that there was locker room things that are happening, and that there's being blame put on LeBron a little bit, I think. And I think so too. You spend that much money on a guy and you're not winning, you're not in the championship conversation every year. That's a problem.
You won one finals, and it's during a time in which no one wanted to be there.
Yep.
I mean, Lou Williams was literally begging to get out of the bubble.
Please suspend me.
Yeah, please. Exactly.
Let me go.
Hey, listen, you won that. Good job. Whatever.
Kyrie didn't want to be there.
No one wanted to be there.
No one wanted to be there.
LeBron literally dragged his team to the bubble and said, "We're going to win a championship." And hey, great, you have 4 NBA.
Still one of the worst playoffs you can watch.
With the caveat on that fourth one.
Let me mention real quick the Western and Eastern Conference standings. We'll start with the Western Conference standings. The graphic should be up for you now. As the Nuggets are 40-18, the Grizzlies are 34-22, the Kings are 32-24 in third. Then you got the Suns in fourth, fifth is the Mavs, Clippers in sixth, seventh is the Pelicans, eighth is the Timberwolves, ninth is the Warriors, who are slowly climbing their way back into the standings, and the Jazz are rounding out the top 10. Once again, the Lakers are not near anybody with 26 wins and 32 losses. I think the biggest surprise here for me, not really a surprise, more of just a call out. The Warriors are slowly making their way up. That's a team you don't want to see in a late seed, and you don't really want to see in an early seed. You don't really want to see them at all in the playoffs.
I was about to say, I told Jamar this last week. I said, why do they always do that? They always do that, and it makes me frustrated, and it shouldn't.
Eastern Conference, Celtics, congratulations, you're winning right now in that conference. Good job there, Reese. I know you're happy for your team. The Bucks in the second place spot, Sixers in the third. That doesn't shock me at all. Cavs in the fourth still kind of shocks me a little bit. The Nets are going to fall out at 33-24 wins at fifth. Heat in sixth. Knicks in seven. Hawks is eighth. Raptors 9 and Wizards 10. I just think the Nets are going to just lose the rest of the season pretty much. That gives me those standings. Hey guys, you guys anything else on basketball right now?
And this is kind of a personal thing with me,
That's
but
really fun.
Is Jay Crowder going to the Bucks potentially getting them over the top? Because, I mean, obviously you've got Giannis and Chris Middleton.
Let me rephrase that. Maybe.
Is it enough to help you get over top? Because the Celtics
I think
are loaded.
you need 2 weeks of watching how him and Giannis play for me to really be like, yes. Yeah. You know, I mean, Crowder's great. Don't get me wrong, but I think Crowder's issue is he's been traded so many times right now.
I think Jay Crowder can play with about anybody, though.
Yeah.
He's proven.
I mean, we talked about how he shuts down LeBron.
He's a LeBron killer.
He's one of the LeBron killers.
Yeah. So he can play with about anybody. Did it with Celtics, Jazz. Did it in Phoenix. Right. Now we'll see if he can do it with the Bucks, even with better superstar players than what he's had in the past years.
We'll see what happens there, and as always, we'll keep you involved in the NBA standings and the playoffs as we continue our season and their season as well. But now it's time to look at the NFL and recap that Super Bowl 57. Congratulations to Kansas City and Andy Reid. I'm not saying good job, Pat. I'm not doing it. I've learned that I can't bet against Pat Mahomes, apparently. Apparently it just backfires every time I do it, so I'm going to stop betting against him. Because if I bet on him, he loses games. So I'm going to stop doing that. But we got some highlights for that game that are popping up right now. And towards the end of those highlights, I want to talk about the play. We all know what play I'm talking about, the penalty that was called. The holding call that's called on James Bradbury with a minute and 30-something left in the clock. They're on like the 12th or 13th yard line. It's obviously a holding call, but they've been holding each other the entire quarter, and no one's been calling anything. You get all these guys on Twitter, LeBron, RG3, Shannon Sharp, all these people on Twitter dogging this ref. Although the player comes out and says that it was a hold, we all admit that it was a call and it should have been made. Here's my question to you guys. Do you make that call? I'm going to start with you. Do you make that call?
Not in that moment.
No.
And this is the reason why. I do agree with you that the call is correct.
Yeah.
But, however, the way that you had been officiating the game the entire night, is it enough to warrant a flag? No. If you had called that in the first or second quarter, then you could at least go back to reference and say, hey, listen, we called it earlier in the game. That's how we've been calling it the whole night. And I think Bradbury took more of a high road by saying, yes, it was a hold.
He
definitely said, hey, guys, it's on me. I made a mistake. And that's a professional doing that at the highest level.
If that's Eli Apple.
Oh, he's dogging the ref. He
was
dogging the ref
or Champ Bailey.
Yeah.
I mean that guy is. Those guys are because remember Eli Apple, Champ Bailey known for being burned in the playoffs and the Super Bowl run. So I have to mention those things, right?
Absolutely.
So if that's that guy, you don't have that guy respond like that. No. Bradbury shows that he's not just an all-pro. He shows that he made a mistake, and he admits he made a mistake, and he apologized to everybody.
No.
And to me, that player deserves all the gratitude and apologies and everything in the world because of how he acted. Yeah. Reese, same question. You make that call?
Well, so you got to put yourself – I always do this. I put myself in the shoes of the official.
Yeah.
You're on the biggest stage. All the lights are on you. You know, you're just trying to go by the rule book. You're trying to make the best call possible for that situation. I know it's situational football. I get that. But when it comes down to it, those guys have so many things racing through their mind at one time. They're just trying to literally earn that paycheck, and
absolutely.
You could say, did he earn it? Well, who knows? Everybody has their own their own rule book almost.
Right.
So I think it wasn't the right call at the right moment, but you got to put yourself in the shoes of the refs. That's a tough job. We don't give them enough credit.
No, we don't. And in the off season, I do want to mention everybody. And the off season will be probably one of the most worked off seasons for the referees the NFL has ever seen this year. Roger Goodell and all of them have mentioned that as well. There's going to be a lot of reform happening, so we're going to see new reffing styles next season.
They're
which
probably
could be
going to have to
good
pay
and bad.
Yeah.
They need to pay them.
They're going to have to pay them more.
With that said, though, I want to try to keep moving here. We'll talk about the off season as much as we can as the off season continues, but there are a bunch of off season questions. While I'm talking about the off season, I'd love to play a little clip. There's a clip that's coming up of a recap of all the greatest plays, or in my opinion, the worst plays this season is popping up. There's a for you guys, and while I'm doing that, I'm gonna pose some questions to you, gentlemen, while that's playing, because it's one of my favorite things. And yes, before anyone asks me, there are 2 Ravens plays in there. One against the Giants. One against the Giants when Lamar fumbles it and throws a pick, which was bad. And then one against the Tyler Huntley jump that Huntley should have never done, that if he doesn't jump, the Ravens go and play the Bills instead, so instead of the Bengals. So, but moving on. Off-season starting, there's a couple off-season things I want to mention. Derek Carr has officially been released. Andy Reid will not retire. He'll stay. Aaron Rodgers, we have no idea where he's going, but he's got 3 more days left in his list of things that he's doing, and then we'll figure out. Lamar Jackson will probably get franchise tagged. It's the number one thing that will be talked about this offseason by the Ravens. He'll be franchise tagged. Congratulations to them hiring Todd Monken, I think is how you say his name, from Georgia. Jackson was involved in the hiring process, which is also very comforting for any of those Ravens fans. Odell Beckham Jr. is still a free agent. DeAndre Hopkins could be traded to go somewhere. Who's being traded? There's a lot. Who will be the face of the Raiders? That is officially a question, too, as well, because Devontae Adams is there. We could see Aaron Rodgers. The only other thing I want to mention, the Bears. Stop, Bears. Administration could very well mess everything up for them, but we're not really going to worry about it because they have $94 million in the cap. They have 8 picks for the draft, a 1-1, a second, a third, 2 fourths, 2 fifths, and a 7th in the draft this year. The Bears have most likely the one team that could change drastically compared to any other team in the league, and I wanted to mention that real quick while we have the opportunity. That brings me real quick to the XFL. We talked about the XFL a little bit. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson tweeted out saying congratulations to the Chiefs and Philly for making it to the Super Bowl, and then he hopes to see some of his players in the XFL make it to the Super Bowl next season. We now officially have year-round football. This is amazing, and I want to talk about these teams real quick. We have the Las Vegas Vipers, the Arlington Renegades, the Seattle Sea Dragons, which is an interesting concept, San Antonio Brahmas? Say Bulls. Just say Bulls. It's what it is. Houston Roughnecks, DC Defenders, Orlando Guardians, and St. Louis Battlehawks. In my opinion, the best team out of all of those that I like is going to be the DC Defenders and the St. Louis Battlehawks. They both got good rosters from what I've seen.
Can we all establish teams right here so everybody at home can hold us accountable when either our teams are doing really good or really bad?
Can you give me a week? Can you give me a week for that? Just give me 1 week because there are 4 more teams I need to look at before I make my pick of the 8 teams.
Some teams do play this Saturday.
You're right. All of them play this Saturday.
Okay,
all of them will play. That brings me to my next fact. Starting this week, 2/18 at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, we have year-round football that's finally here. The first game we'll have the Vegas Vipers playing against the Arlington Renegades. While the league only has 8 teams, I believe that we will see more teams come in after this league proves its successful form of sports entertainment. This is the 3rd time the XFL has been revived. Congratulations to The Rock bringing it back. I'm happy that we're having year-round football. I think that's a great thing. I think we can do it. I think it's possible. I just think that the XFL has to be given a chance first.
Yeah. I also think the one thing that's going to keep this whole organization going is DraftKings, BetMGM, sports gambling side.
Absolutely.
Money. Absolutely. People are going to be betting on this nonstop. So this is a smart move by The Rock. I like it.
We'll start doing more and more in-depth details about the XFL as we have a chance. But, Kristian, I want to thank you so much for coming out for the show this week. Obviously, Jamar's not here. Anytime that Jamar's not here and you want to fill in, feel free to come in and hang out with us. Same thing with Reese. I know, Reese, you've got some times you very well be missed, too. Yeah. So thank you for coming in and doing that. Reminder that every chance you get, you can go to APSU at APSU CrunchTime on Instagram and Twitter to find us there on our social media accounts. I want to give a quick shout-out real quick to David Ellison and Steve Sawyer and Trey for helping us get the show running, Doc V for allowing us to use the studio here at Austin Peay. And we will see you next week on another great episode of Crunch Time.